Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sold with Updike Pugh.
I'm Jeff Updike.
And I'm Weston Pugh. And today on episode 337, we're going to be featuring a townhome in far north Dallas at 7333 Valley Lane, and it's unit 302. It was built, I think, in 2008 and was remodeled 3 or 4 years ago?
2 years ago, I think.
2 years ago?
Mm-hmm. Knocked out.
Clients did a great job. We sold 2 other houses, impeccable taste. Mm-hmm. You're going to want to tune in and watch this.
And in our second segment today, we're going to talk about an issue we experience from time to time in the real estate business, and it's talking about the appraisal gap and what happens when a house comes in under the appraised value.
That's always
or under the contract price.
That is one of those stressors, and we'll talk a little bit about it. It doesn't have to be, but we just dealt with this, and it does. It adds a layer of like uncomfortableness in that transaction that I think kind of wears out some of the buyers and sellers.
It does.
So, good stuff.
So 2 things I wanted to bring up in the first 5 minutes. One is that there's a really cool program that I'm going to have Zach put the link down in the comments below, where the city of Dallas will reimburse you for 2 commodes in your house as long as they be older than a certain age. They want you to install these more efficient ones. And so there's a really great program. It's free. I'll get the information for Zach and send it to him. Number 2 is, guess what I got in the mail yesterday?
Oh, I know. Go, Jesus.
My new appraisal value in my house, which means all of those letters are coming out. So you are going to begin receiving the updated appraisal value for your home. Watch it. If you want comparable data because you need to protest it, reach out to us. We're happy to provide that to you.
I don't know if that when I get mine, if I'll be able to protest anything.
I don't know. We'll see.
Lot values are a little high right now.
There's a really interesting story you sent me also about appraisal values of a problem that occurred in Collin County last year. And we'll drop that down, and we'll drop the link down below. But it's I don't know if I'm guessing he's a realtor or an appraiser, one of the two. But
Chandler was actually in leadership program with me at Metrotex when I did in 2020.
Okay.
And I think he's mortgage.
He had access to net trust. That's the only reason that I'm thinking he's an appraiser. But
it's a good.
Who knows? But it's a really interesting story. Won't tell you how to get yours down, but it's an interesting story of a couple of things to watch that are going to be happening statewide.
Yep. Very good. So one of the things that we like to do at this point in the show is we like to tell you a little bit about what's happening in the market. And so for this time, we're actually going to talk about a zip code 752. Let's make sure. 40. All right, because this is one of the times when I feel like there's so much clickbait, and I feel like there's such an interesting way to massage the numbers to get them to tell you like a scripture what you want to hear versus what is actually happening. So this is when we strip down and we're actually going into MLS, and we're going to talk just about this one zip code at this point.
So 75240 is a pretty well-defined zip code. It goes from the Dallas North Tollway all the way over to Central Expressway. That is Spring Valley along the top of it that you see there. It does dip down into it a little bit. And then it goes all the way down to LBJ. But oddly, there are 2 or 3 little neighborhoods that it picks up on the south side of LBJ. But otherwise, it's a very well-defined neighborhood. Great neighborhood to live in.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about what's active right there.
So in that zip code, there are 58 current active listings that are priced everywhere from $127,000 all the way up to $4.7 million. So it's a very broad price band of what's going on in there. There's a lot of smaller condos that come into play that are on that lower end, but then you've got an estate type property or 2.
Right. So the other thing that we like to look at is what's the median sales price in there, because that kind of gives us that bell curve and lets us know where we're standing. And right now that sits at about $564,000 and change. One of the interesting things about the house that we're going to feature on the show today is actually $125,000 below that. So it does kind of like give you that comfort in knowing that you are below, which is a really smart way, because we always say that you make money at the point of purchase, not at the point of sale.
You just collect at the point of sale.
Yeah, exactly.
The days on market there is a little bit larger than we're seeing in other neighborhoods. There's average days on market of 90 days right now. That is a little bit skewed because you've got 3 or 4 listings in there that have been on the market for a really long period of time. You've got one that's 264 days, one that's 564 days. So that's going to skew that average a bit.
So we're going to flip it now and go and move forward once a home has gone under contract and talk about pending. And currently there are 10 homes in this zip code that are pending. But this is what I found interesting. The median price point for pending right now is $647,000. That's a lot higher than what the median listing is. And that's not usually the case.
Usually the other way.
Yeah. So this is interesting to see. This is really a nice data fact that tells you kind of which way the inventory and transition of the market is going.
And there have been 7 homes that have closed in the last 30 days there, which is a good ratio considering there's 58 homes on the market. A little over 10% of those closed last month. Those are median sold price $535,000, and the average list to sale ratio is 96.3. So your sellers up there are still getting fairly close to their list price as long as they're reasonable about it.
Exactly, and I think that that's the important thing to know. Also wanted to point out that there was actually a sale on Purple Sage that went under contract in 6 days and actually closed for 101% of list to sales price. So there are still those markets where they are extremely hot. It's a one-off. Somebody has to have the house. So like the weather, real estate is very subject to where you are.
Yeah, very true.
So one of the things that we like to do is let you know that this is what we can do for you no matter where you are, what you're looking for. So if it's a zip code, if it's a school district, let us know. These are quick little portals that we can set up. You can get updated ASAP, or you can just get a single email every day as they come up. But it's a really good way to kind of know the history and the inventory so that you can make the best decision.
Great. So let's talk about our home.
Tell us more about it,
So
Jeff.
this is 7333 Valley View Lane. This is unit number 302. This was built in 2008. It was the beginning of a complex that was coming on the market, I think, at that tougher period of time. And so only one building of the complex got built then. The balance of the complex got built out about 8 years later. And so you've got a nice mixture in styles and price points. The location is really great on this because you are just right off of LBJ. You are a minute and a half off of LBJ going either way.
And I think that the more that the DFW, especially Dallas, expands, that I think 635 becomes closer and closer to a midtown point.
I agree.
I think that it's not downtown anymore. I feel like that's way too south now, and because of how far we've migrated north, that this is a really good location to be held at. I think that we're going to see a lot of exciting things happen in this area. This is the number 2 spot for the Dallas Mavs, just to the west of here, and also, HEB and all of their marketing and research has decided that their first Dallas location, isn't it first with Dallas?
In the city of Dallas, I believe, yes.
Is going to be at 635 and Preston on the south side.
Hillcrest, yeah.
On the southeast side. So that's a lot to tell you, hey, this area, could be one of the up and coming neighborhoods for sure.
And if things go the way we want them to, they're going to have a new basketball stadium up there where Valley View Mall used to be.
Your lips to God's ears. That is ridiculous. We've talked so much about that. I think we've talked about it on 2 separate episodes.
But from a living perspective, this is such a great location because you've got such easy access to all kinds of restaurants. You are minutes away from Beltline Road on Addison, where you have simple ramen restaurants all the way up to some really nice steakhouses. And one of the things that we wanted to point out about that direction is Addison City Park, or Addison Circle Park.
And I think this is so interesting because if Dallas could do more of this and create the park and then fill around it with the destination, the shops, the restaurants, and then it would it's like that synergy that works so much better. To me, this is what Preston Center needs to happen so badly. Tear down the garage, put a park down, and lower the garage underground.
Yeah.
This is where I think we should be heading. It hosts Oktoberfest, quick transition. there is a new bar that is on the way called Hofbrau Pub that will open in Addison in 2026 in the fall. This is a very famous beer hall that I believe they're talking about Bavarian beers that are brewed to a 1518 purity law. What does that even mean? I'm going to go find out because I know I love Bavarian beers, so I am down for
It
this.
means you're going to have one.
Really?
You are. Yeah, you will have one and you will feel it.
So anyway, I'm just saying, I like the concept of the way that they have Oktoberfest in this park, and then now we've got the beer to go with it. Because I'm 5 minutes south of here.
Yeah.
I love it.
So one of the things you're going to be surprised about, and I'm just going to get it out of the way, is when you've got a beer that's that strong, they're only going to serve it in a cup that big.
You know what? You are 100% right, because I one time went to a craft beer thing and ordered a beer, and apparently it was like an 11%, and it came like in a Dixie cup. And I was like, "What is this?" And he's like, "That's all you get.
That's all you get.
2 of those."
Yep, that's all you
All
get.
right.
So anyway, the other thing that we wanted to talk about is called Pizza Fest, and this is at Italy at North Park. I've never been to this event, but I have seen a lot about this event, and I have been to Italy several times and really enjoy that as a kind of gastronomical experience.
It is. And the interesting thing is that they've assembled 30 different pizza makers. I didn't know there were 30 different pizza makers, and are creating this event around that. And I love a good pizza. It's so funny because maybe there's a project of a pizza oven in the future. So I would think this would be really fun. Anyway, check it out. It's at North Park Mall, which is just minutes from this actual address. And without further ado, let's talk a little bit more about 7333 Value Lane, number 302.
So this is a 2-bedroom, 2 full bath, 1 half bath, 2-story, which is a really important part of this. Almost everything around this is 3-story, other than this one building. And actually, many of half the units in this one building are also 3-story.
Yeah.
So that is a big draw in itself, because a lot of people, they don't want to do 3 stories. They don't want to do 4 stories. This is about 1,800 square feet, beautiful layout. You can look at it right there, and that is exactly what it looks like when you walk into it.
And I love Brian's eye on this one was impeccable. From the pendant lights to the way that he built the little built-in. Also on the left-hand side, you're going to see these large floating shelves that kind of create this architectural element and kind of like act as a holding space for where your dining room table goes. It all works. The floors, I love that he's done a matte finish on the floors. They're not gray, but they're a very neutral palette, which kind of works throughout this entire unit. I love the fact that the fireplace is in the corner and it's gas, so you can use it, turn it off, and keep going. This is that powder bath.
2 years ago, they did a massive cosmetic renovation on this property and did such a phenomenal job. So this is the master bedroom, which is on the front of the building, has its own little patio right there off of it. That looks down into the center courtyard between the buildings. Again, really nicely done. You've still got real tall ceilings upstairs. This is the master bath, and
it looks as good in person. I love the sconces. I love that he took the tile all the way to the ceiling there behind the mirrors. Sculptural tub there, also a little place for your soaps. Glass seamless shower, toilet wrapped around. He didn't do white cabinets, which I absolutely love. Brian is not scared of color, and he brings in this stain. It creates a warmth in this. I thought we were so lucky to actually be able to capture this.
And if you work from home, you have a dedicated space right there on that second floor landing that's a very generous size. It's generous enough to have the desk and chair and then a small day bed.
So both of the bedrooms are going to be en suite, and so this is, I don't think, when I look at the bedroom number 2, I don't think that it's like I'm skimped or that I have less, because you can see how large the bedroom is. And look at the renovation that he did on this bathroom. Again, tile goes all the way to the ceiling, complementary tile inside the shower, glass, it all works out perfectly.
So this was 7333 Value Lane, number 302, 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath, built in 2008. It's about 1,860 square feet. priced at $439,900. That brings it in at $236.25 a square foot, which is 15% below the median dollar per square foot for that zip code.
It's amazing. So one of the things that we like to do is in the comments, you can actually click on the link and you can look at the pictures as you would like, zoom in and out on that map, find out what we've been talking about. It's easy to share with your friends and family if they've talked about it having a condo all to themselves. And if you would like to see it, let us know and we'd be happy to make that happen.
Absolutely.
Good times. I love that condo. But I got to tell you something. I copied his bed. That bedding is Pendleton, and I went and bought it because I liked it so much, and it looks great.
It does.
So, all right, good job.
So,
what are you going to talk about, Jeff? I know you got.
What are we going to talk about?
Well, okay, we can talk about it.
We're going to talk about appraisal gaps. We're going to talk about how the real estate industry has mislabeled that problem and the solution to it.
They have.
We want to clarify. We want to apologize for all realtors out there that have done this.
Because we actually went back and, forever people were talking about an appraisal waiver when it was red hot. Mm-hmm. And an appraisal waiver is actually not the right term. Mm-mm. It kind of is a description of what's taking place, but people said it so much that it kind of just took on. Yeah, and it's not right.
And I think part of the problem was the name of the actual form, which is called the Addendum for Sellers' Right to Terminate Based Upon Appraisal.
Sellers or buyers?
Buyer, excuse me.
Yeah, buyers.
Yeah, Addendum for Buyers' Right to Terminate Based Upon Appraisal.
But no one ever said that.
Doesn't roll off the tongue very easily.
They call it appraisal waiver.
Yeah, which is an appraisal waiver, to be clear, is when a lender makes a decision that the borrower is so strong, or they're putting so much money down, or they just can see very clearly through data they have what the value of the property is, and the lender can offer the buyer an opportunity to do an appraisal waiver.
To the buyer.
To the buyer, which saves them $500, $600, $700. It also just kind of moves the process along a little faster.
It does. And so what happens in this gap is when the appraisal is actually, when the bank rolls out, sends in the appraisal, and comes back and says, based on your contract price, we find that the value is less than. And it can be anywhere from, $500,000 all the way to $45,000 or greater. Yeah. I mean, it can get pretty substantial at some points.
Yeah. And so what do you do about that? I mean, you've got a couple of different options, but I'll say this to start. At the point that the appraisal comes in, you do not have that addendum for buyer's right to terminate in the contract. You do not have that. The minute the appraisal comes in, if it is $1 below the contract sales price, there is no obligation for anybody to do anything.
Until the date of closing, either and that terminate, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. There isn't.
Well, really, there's not even then.
Really?
Yeah, because it doesn't.
A little gray.
Because the lender is not going to move forward until that is resolved. But there's no obligation for anybody to do anything.
But everybody gets really excited at this point. This is when we just recently had this, and our buyer was asking, what's next, and we said our goal is for us to be able to find the best solution that gives you still the most amount of money. And so we talked about a different scenarios, and one of them was where we had already negotiated and received a substantial amount in concessions. Mm-hmm. And we said one of the possibilities is that they are going to actually claw that back in order to reduce the sales price to meet the standards for the bank. Mm-hmm. And that was one of those situations. But it doesn't always have to be that way.
Mm-mm, not at all.
In fact, our goal, looking at what we had, was to actually say, hey, seller, you need to lower the price.
Yeah.
And we based it on 3 or 4 different data points that were cited inside the appraisal and presented that, knowing that whether it was our buyer or another one, that these were the exact same scenarios going to play out, and that it was longer days on the market, which means it could have been even a different price point. And therefore, because of, I think, a good working relationship, we were able to actually get that price reduction down to what the appraisal came in at.
So you've really got you've got 3 choices, or the people have 3 choices. They can lower the price of the contract to the appraised value. Everybody moves on. The buyer can pay the difference between the appraised value and the contract price in cash at closing, or they can come to some agreement between the buyer and seller where maybe the buyer only brings part of that money, the seller reduces the price by an amount to meet them, and then everybody moves forward. That's usually the way it works out.
Correct.
Like 99.923% of the time, that's how, one of those three ways is how it works out. Sometimes your deal dies.
True.
Sometimes it just dies.
I think it's also interesting because at this point, you've already negotiated everything in the contract, but because this suddenly becomes an at-play position, everything is now back on the table. Mm-hmm. So if you were able to like secure appliances or a lease back or things of a dollar value, those can actually be clawed back by a seller, or asked for by a buyer. Mm-hmm. It's a very interesting time in the contract. Mm-hmm. And it was funny because our buyer was like, how come they didn't have the exact price? And that was one of those things where I had to say, this is the one point in the contract where an appraisal is an opinion. Mm-hmm. And I think you and I really strive to help our buyers understand that they may have a relationship with a one-off bank or with a huge bank, mm-hmm. but that because of that, they may not be working with the best appraisers out there that are knowledgeable. And I think that's key in this step, is having the right people in place.
I think that, we work primarily with Jeremy at SWBC, and one of the things about Jeremy's company that we're very comfortable with is the appraisal management company that they use only allows a certain number of appraisers to work within a certain zip code. And they have to demonstrate, before they're allowed to work in that zip code, they have to demonstrate their knowledge. They have to demonstrate that they've done X number of appraisals already in that zip code. And we're more confident that somebody going into that zip code and doing that appraisal, even if it comes in short, we're confident that they knew what they were doing when they were looking at it.
Yep. It is an interesting time. It's a stressful time, but we really do everything we can to help get the best contract mm-hmm. put together for our clients.
So hope that's cleared some of that up about how appraisals work. If you have any questions, just put them in the comments below. We'd be happy to address them.
And just remember, we want to be realtors for life.